Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, it is Monday, 7 o'clock, and we are going live with transformations. And I got my raw optics on because my eyes, I've been working on a computer all day today. It is snowing here in the Northeast. I'm in just east of Philadelphia, south of New York City, north of Washington, D.C., and we've been getting the snow piling up. How about you? Are you staying warm out there at least? Well, that being said, I wanted to show something. We talk about energy, we talk about frequencies, we talk about transformation, we talk about consciousness and mindset, how all this works within the physical lab that is your human body, the human matrix. And we're going to talk about a little bit of a well-rounded deep dive into the book Decode Your Pain. I wanted to share more of this information out there. We gave some great feedback from people who purchased the book recently. So I'm gonna broadcast a talk I gave. It really does a phenomenal job summarizing the contents of the book. And if you would like an introduction to that book, go to drkevintransformations.com or drkeving.com. You can get that. And I'm gonna be showing this solar system thing here in a moment. But before we get there, this is drkeving.com, the shop. This is where you can get access to the book, to the raw optics. And these are products that I use for my own benefit because, well, I care about what affects me. And when it comes to screen time and the more Zoom calls I'm on and doing a lot of internet-based work, it has been primary importance to protect my eyes. Why? Because this damaging blue light is going on all the time with all our screens. So I'm an affiliate there. You can support the channel. You can get yourself and protect yourself. Health is the first wealth, ladies and gentlemen. And I pulled up this quote to show you. This is true in so many ways. And so let's dive into the conversation of energy. And I'm going to pull up this external force. There's internal forces and external forces of how we operate and how we have to adapt and be resilient and change to our environment. And there's things going on outside of us. Yes, you can check your email, you can check the news and all that. But I'm talking about a grander, more influential source. Things that affect our weather, things that affect our consciousness. And I found some papers to support that. I'll be talking more about that here soon enough. But let's take a look at this image here. We're going to be going 4 months at a time. And I just want you to note the nature of it a little bit. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And just observe how it's kind of like a clock. That's one of the first things I recognized. And we're going 4 months per second. Get rid of that right there. And so you can see just, the planet's flying around the sun, and there is a electromagnetic effect each planet has on the sun and the vice versa, and how they interact together. If you zoom out and we take a different angle, you can see Saturn, you can see Neptune, and they're all moving at different speeds. All right, let's speed it up a little bit more. Oh, excuse me, not that one. Pause it there. 4 months at a time. Let's go to 6 months at a time. We're in 1905 right there. In the alignment, and we're seeing the interaction and interplay. Now, that being said, there is influences that affect us here as humans on the planet, and now we're going 6 months per second, so this is flying really fast. However, we did just break some spinning records. Let's go to actual time right here, right now. That's 2020, and 2021, excuse me, what year are we? And we can see there's different alignments of different things that play off like a matrix of angles of energy. Now, I've been diving into these topics. Here's the alignment actually I wanted to share. We have this Venus, Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter thing going on. There's a lot of things happening. With that being said, how does that play on our physical body? Well, it does. And I found some Harvard information about how the brain, the alpha wave state, and the different electromagnetic frequencies of these planets play a role. However, that's not the causative factor, because it's kind of like as above, so below. There's internal things happening at the same time as external things. There's this perfect effect. I talk about that in chapter 5 of the book, The Manna Brought. So let's dive into what I wanted to share with you tonight and give you the deep dive of the book. Again, if you want to have access to that, drkeving.com, and you can get that for a few dollars that will nurture you for a lifetime. So let's take a look. And we'll start this presentation off.
The other one rolling already?
This is recording.
All right.
Okay, then you're good to go.
Fast forward a little bit
here.
here.
Let's begin. Starting my video.
Here we are.
Okay. Welcome everybody. I'm Dr. Kevin Jarina, and today we're talking about Decode Your Pain. So whether you have new pain, chronic pain, emotional pain, life pain, there's a reason for it. And tonight we're going to dive into what those reasons are, what life is trying to show you, what our bodies are trying to show you. So stay tuned. There's a link on the description. If you're looking for the book, if you're looking for the ebook, go there, get on board with the Facebook page and purchase the book, download the book, and start reading and studying for yourself. I'm here tonight in Oakland, New Jersey, right next door to Audubon, New Jersey, and I'm at Sacred Green Earth, an amazing bookstore here, all kinds of phenomenal products, things to help you grow personally, things to help you grow spiritually, things to help you grow in every aspect of your life. So thank you everyone for coming. Like I said, my name is Dr. Kevin Jarina, and today we're talking about Decode Your Pain. So what I'd like to start with tonight is kind of the inspiration of what brought this book about. And this is a question I often get. How did I come up with this material? What inspired me in my life? And essentially the nuts and bolts of it is I was at the lowest point in my life. Between a rock and a hard place, as people say. And this was in my mid-20s. I had been going through graduate school, and I had some problems in my life, and without me knowing any better, I ended up solving them with anger, and I solved them with alcohol, and I solved them with cigarettes and other things to distract me, to take my attention away. And ultimately, as I was uncertain how to deal with my life's problems, I was forced further and further down until there was nothing else to do but become vulnerable, to become aware that whatever I was doing and how it was doing it was not the way forward that was going to bring me success. And when I say success in life, that means good relationships, it means having a good energy, it means having good feelings in life, that your body can move well. Even if you have a pain, your body can overcome and adapt over that. That's what I mean by life success. And so really this book was spawned by my teachers. This book came about because of the hard places I kept getting myself into, and I couldn't figure out what to do. I had to let go of the definitions of what I felt as success. I had to let go of the definitions that I held on to as this is the way to get good results in life. And so I had to shift what I believed. And fortunately, I had great teachers in my life that showed me how to do these things step by step. And so this book, Decode Your Pain, is the description of life philosophy, a way to look at life that can begin to shift the results you get in life. And as you start getting those shifts in those results, meaning better outcomes, more favorable responses, better relationships, it may even be more income, you are shifting your story. You are shifting your energy pattern. You are shifting how you look and see life, therefore you get different results. And that's what this book's about. It's about getting better results. So, chapter 1, it's titled Symptoms Are the Story. And in this chapter, I go through my story a bit, and I go through what I mean by symptoms are the story. And I want you to consider that our symptoms are analogous to our check engine light in our car. Or if you don't have a car, anything that you use that has a warning light to tell you something isn't accurate, something isn't working correctly. That's what pain is in our body. Now the causes can be varied. There's physical causes, there's of course nutritional causes and toxins that can cause things, but there's also our mental and emotional state that can lead us to experience problems, experience pains. And so this is what this book is highlighted on. Now I asked the people here in the audience to take a look at a chapter in the book or a page in the book and start to read and to come up with a question. So right now, does anyone have a thought, a concern, a question, uncertainty about, or maybe perhaps more clarification on something that's in the book?
Okay, when you mention pain, do you mean like today I went to work and was fine, and then I got a pain in my knee? Are you talking about that pain, or is there a way to relieve that pain without, if it's not happening all the time?
Okay, so yes, I am talking about that type of pain, like a physical knee pain, though I'm also talking about emotional pain. I'm also talking about situations in life, getting pulled over by the police, getting stuck in a long line at the grocery store. Even these things, they're cluing us into something. Okay, so let's talk about the physical knee pain. Well, there could be physical reasons, something to do with your chair, your shoes, maybe even how you walk. The common misperception is our body is working appropriately all the time, where most times our body has some type of incident in our life and it's working in a adaptive way. Adaptive. That means a way that has to, what's the word I'm looking for? It has to change from working at its optimal to working at a lower state. So your knee, for example, okay? Something changed in your body. The pressure is now on the knee. So that's an adaptation response, meaning your body had to shift or move or align itself differently to account for whether it's your foot or something in your neck or your back or even your arm that changed, causing every muscle, causing every bone to shift its way it moves and responds, even slightly, putting more pressure on your knee, therefore you get knee pain. So that's the complicated factors of, well, what's causing what? And that's a much more detailed discussion, and that's where I go over that material in Becoming Your Own Healer, which is another class that I'll be teaching more of. In fact, I'm building a whole network of classes around that topic of how do we identify, and I know you attended one of those earlier sessions, how do we identify what to do to help unlock the area that got stuck, leading to some type of pain somewhere.
So all pain is begins in your mind?
Well, there's an argument for that.
Okay.
So what's called the 7 laws or the 7 universal laws or the 7 natural laws, that's law number 1. All is mentalism, meaning all starts in the mind. There's other 6 laws that complement that and begin to feather out that conversation. So let's talk about that. I believe, I don't remember the exact chapter I mentioned it, but we'll talk about body language, okay? What kind of body language does someone who's happy have? Are their shoulders up or they're down and slouching forward? Up. How about the expression on their face? Do you think someone who's having a good day has a smile or a frown?
Smile.
Smile, yeah. So those are the big movements we can see from afar. But when you have a conversation with someone, you can almost instinctively begin to figure out some of the things that are going on in their life. They're having a good day, they're having a bad day. Things are fortunate for them today, things are not fortunate for them today. And so that's a very broad way of defining someone, though you can see the trends. And as someone begins to study those non-physical cues, that non-verbal communication, body language, there's a very deep study, very deep science, lots of research that the range of percentage of communication that's non-verbal, meaning you can tell what someone's like or what someone's going through that day, up to like 97% is non-verbal in some studies. Some people will go as low as 80%. But that's still a vast majority of the communication going on. That's not because of the words. And that's the lesson of life. That's the classroom of life that we're in from birth. We're just downloading what it is to be a human being the first 7 years. And then we get to try out what it is to be a human being when we turn 8, 9, 10 years old. And then that's when a lot of things start to smack us in the face, so to speak. When we're becoming those teenager years, we're separating, we're becoming independent, and we're trying out what we thought life to be and how the rules of life are. And then things happen, situations happen, and the way we think life needs to be working, the way we go about life, it isn't working. And so our bodies start to break down. There's a wonderful researcher, her name's Candace Pert, and I mentioned her in the book. And what she was able to discover was that when we have a thought that has an emotion that connects to it, our body is instantly flooded with these hormones, these biochemicals, the chemicals our body produces naturally. Our body is flooded with them. Instantaneously, every cell in our body is receiving the message, bringing that hormone into the cell. The cells, that the instructions are read, the cell then follows the instructions and plays out the instructions, and the function of the cell changes in an instant. Every cell in our body is responding and doing something different based on the emotional message it received. And the emotional message is sent through these hormones and these biochemicals, and the instructions are played out. So when someone has a joyful thought, literally the DNA of that individual is changing and expanding. And this is Western science telling us this. I believe the groundbreaking research was done by Dr. Bruce Lipton. And this woman, Dr. Candace Pert, expanded on it and was able to show these things. So let's talk about your knee again. I'll pick on you, okay? So your knee, if I flip to the back of the book, or if you have the PDF ebook version, it's at the very end of the book. This is not the most extensive list out there, but I brought some lists together, and I started to note what areas of the body go with what symbolism or what metaphors of life. So if you look at knee, for example, it has to do with flexibility or inflexibility of life, willingness or unwillingness, giving into ego or not giving into ego, our decisions, our pride, our ego, our stubbornness. And if you look at the chakra system, there's the seven main energy centers. The knees and lower body relate to, I believe, the first and second chakra, probably one more than the other. And a lot of that is our foundations of life, where we get our love, where we have our housing, where we get our food from, our income, the things we use to survive. And if that is shifting in our life, if that's changing, or if our definitions are changing of that, then there can be susceptibility to a physical injury. Some people will even say, because there's a belief system associated with that energy, you'll get events and circumstances and people coming into your life that match where your belief state is. And if your belief state is in a good balanced place, you'll get good, wonderful experiences. And if it's out of place from being accurate or authentic with yourself, you'll get experiences that don't feel comfortable, but will give you exactly what you need to grow and shift and transform. So if you're having challenges in your life today, or even this week, or this month, or this year, life is begging you to look within, to analyze your beliefs, your perceptions, your behaviors. And your loved ones know you the best, so they'll tell you straight to your face. And they love you, they really do. And sometimes those things that are said are meant with the greatest intention, but are taken certain ways. And even how we listen to those critiques and our response to those critiques, that is something we need to work on as well. And there's so many books, there's so much material, and there's so many wonderful people and practitioners out there that are helping people work through shifting belief, shifting perspective. And so, if you're getting results that you don't like, life is begging you to look within. Look with how you're perceiving, how you're delivering, how you're giving. Because there's another law, one of these 7 laws. What you put out, you get back. Some people call it karma. The golden rule, maybe. Do unto others as you want done to yourself. There's something to that. And I wasn't always on board with those type of thinkings. Though those experiences kept coming back. And maybe years later. But now that I'm more aware of it, it seems like it's more instantaneous. And you can type in YouTube and Google and type in instant karma. You'll see all kinds of fun videos of people doing silly fun things, but then that karma, boom, whether good or bad. If you open a door for someone and smile at them and say hello, watch when something good happens right back to you in a very short amount of time. beautiful. Thank you for your question. Is there more you have on that? And anyone else have a thought right now before I move forward? Okay, let's continue. So life is talking to us, and that's what I mean by life is symbolic. In the back of the book, it talks about different body parts, the symbols of life, and the metaphors that go along with that. And there's a lot of conversation, a lot of consideration, and the only person who will know how it really connects is yourself. So as people help you along the path, you have to discern. I'll take that into consideration. I'll take your advice into consideration. I'll take this idea and I'll mull over. I'll see how it plays out. Don't take what I say at face value and just believe it. That's the mistake. Search your heart, search your soul, find out, does this resonate, does this connect? And if not, well, discover why that may be. And if so, discover why that may be. And there's reward in that. There's self-knowing, there's more confidence, there's certainty in life. These things build when we begin to investigate and begin to contemplate what life is showing us. So this is what chapter 2 is. Life is symbolic. There's a whole study in the natural healing community, the spiritual healing community. One of the foundational fathers in their modern time is Ted Andrews. And he talks about animal symbolism and plant symbolism and colors, and there's just this wonderful relationship between life. We are nature. We are not much different than any other living, breathing creature out there. Very minute differences. And so we must recognize ourselves as being part of nature. And if we see ourselves as separate from nature, there becomes problems with that don't apparently make itself known right away. But if we don't see how we treat our body in a natural way, then we start adding synthetic things. We look to the outside and putting it on to make amends for ourselves, versus using nutrition, using mental balancing, using different techniques to find peace within, which results in peace externally. So part of the key to that path is chapter 3, intention and right useness. Okay, so those words I learned, and I dove in deeply with a former mentor of mine, Carol Gold, and essentially it's the idea of ethics, morality, how you go about getting your end result ultimately brings back things to you. And so there's sentences and components of that chapter that relate stories about how what we do affects the results that we get. And more oftentimes than not, and I'm sure there's other things that could be said about this, though one of the most commonly said things on the deathbed, people at the last moment, their families around them, the doctors around them, or maybe they're alone, it's the things that they didn't do that they regret. It's the things they didn't make known to others, their love, their compassion, their gratitude, their appreciation. It's the things that have real meaning in life, those vacations, those relationships. Not did they answer that one more email that night to make that extra buck, or to stay a little longer and do that extra piece of work, but they ignored their family, they ignored their friends, they ignored their own self-care. This is where the regrets of life come in at the end. And so when you look at research that talks about what people say in those stages of life, it's the relationships, it's the connections, it's how they went about life, the moral and ethical ways of life. And so why does that become important? Because ultimately, that's the vibration you're putting out. Okay? Vibration. That's kind of a weird word to talk about, vibration. So how do we get to a human body, and how do we get to the idea of vibration? So first, let's start with water. If I drop a pebble or a rock into the water, you'll see the splash, and then you'll see the ripples that go outward. And so I look at that analogy and I put it into context of me walking into a party and then being angry at everybody, just screaming, "What is everyone doing? This is all wrong." what is the emotional ripple effect that I had on that party? Well, people are getting upset at me, or people are leaving the party because I'm making a scene, or things are just changing. Literally a ripple effect. In fact, I had an experience before I went and traveled overseas at a New Year's Eve party, and someone did something to me I didn't like. And one of the old thoughts I have in my life is, if you wronged me, well, I'm going to wrong you back by 10 times. I'm going to escalate it significantly. So and this was a wonderful, fun party that had, masks, and everyone got dressed up for the party. And I took this person's mask, threw it on the ground, and I smashed it. And I kid you not, this is in someone's basement. There was 3 floors of people having enjoyment, doing different things and enjoying company of others. And I went upstairs to get away from this other individual, and literally everyone was sad. Everyone was down. No one's experienced. And my brother's had many house parties, and all his friends, we all know each other from all these weird circles, and nobody was having fun for that next half hour. To me, and I'm sensitive to people's feelings. Some people would call that empathetic, an empath. And the party chugged along, trying to get that momentum back. And it took about 30, 40 minutes before the energy was back up. The conversation was flowing again. People were having fun, lighting the fireworks and the firecrackers again. I rocked that party. And I didn't know my own power at that point. I didn't understand how what I did to another impacted not just that other person, but everyone in our immediate environment. And so there's this principle I call it the rising tide principle, and I'm sure other people may call it something else. But when the water rises in the bay, all ships that are in that bay rise up too. So when I'm in a good place and I help someone else become in a good place, well, that begins to affect everyone in our immediate vicinity. And we're just getting technology now that can start to measure some of this stuff. Just like the radio, people didn't believe that there was something that could be sent from one place to another without a wire. But now, the radio, that's just common knowledge. We can send things from here to there. We have cell phones and text messages and Wi-Fi, and things are being sent through the airwaves, but that was considered devil work. That was considered woo-woo, voodoo. That could never happen a couple hundred years ago. So now we're learning, our science has gotten good enough. We're getting technology that can detect these other levels of frequencies and energy that we can see the effects of on what we do to others and ourselves. Yes?
So one's energy or state of being can affect their physical body or condition in one way or the other, depending on which way they're leaning.
Yes.
And that's what happened at the party.
At the party. That's
but
right.
It also can happen with an affliction you might have. You can either improve it or not based on your state of being.
That's exactly right. And I believe it's 100% provable right now. And with our current research, most of it's already been done. And so those are some of my personal experiences, more in the book that explains a few of my patients' experiences. Though this has been what I've been looking for science and looking for experience for the last 10 years. Since I had my low moment, 2004, 2005, beginning to climb, how do I say this? I wouldn't say I was climbing out of it in 2006, 2007, though I was gifted people in my life, or I attracted people in my life to begin to help me climb out. And that was people I worked for that would send me to seminars because I couldn't be the doctor teaching other people to be healthy if I had diabetes, high cholesterol, blood pressure problems, skin issues, anger issues, and male impotence. How could I be a naturally minded health professional with all those issues, not addressing myself and trying to teach others? That's just being a hypocrite. So thankfully this doctor saw past my attitudes and helped me, give me books, challenged me to do this, challenged me to do that, and I took my time. I probably could have done it faster, more appropriately, but I did it. I stuck to it. And that's one of my gifts is persistence. Although I may hang up a project, I may forget something, I'll come back and I'll get it done eventually. And those are one of the things. Yeah.
Hello and welcome, I'm Dr. Kevin Jarina, and this is the first introductory video in becoming your own healer.